Part 22. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 211. Zhang Xinyuan was brought up to be reserved and introverted since he was a child, and he would not ask other people's privacy at will, but when Mu Zi had something to hide, he didn't ask. The days on the campus were peaceful and uneventful, except that Mu Zi got the first place in the exam again. There was nothing unusual in the school. A week passed in a hurry, and it was Friday when school was over. Mu Zi and Zhang Xinyuan walked out of the school together, when they suddenly heard someone calling her name. Hey! Mu Zi. Very rude, husky male voice. Mu Zi looked around, and saw a man waving at her in the distance. In such a cold day, he was wearing a pair of ripped jeans, a black leather jacket with metal rivets on his upper body, and a skull-pattern t-shirt inside. As for appearance, frankly speaking, I am used to seeing Murong Cheng's handsome face that can drive away the prosperity of the world, but when I look at other men, I feel dull and can't leave any impression. Is that your friend? Zhang Xinyuan asked her, her tone uncertain. The young man looked sleazy, and Zhang Xinyuan didn't think he was someone Mu Zi would befriend. Mu Zi shook her head, I don't know. Zhang Xinyuan didn't know what to think of. She raised her lips and said with a narrow smile, maybe they are students from other schools, and they came here specially to see what the goddess Swibble looks like. Most of Gray's students are extraordinary, and there are many beauties, which often attract students from other schools to watch. Mu Zi is beautiful and has good grades. She already has a lot of admirers in the open and in the dark. However, Gray has a strict school spirit, so there must be no open pursuit. Probably only Wang Zilong would dare to do such a thing. Mu Zi was teased by Zhang Xinyuan, teasing herself, what else can I look like? I look like a ghost. Dressed in the skin of a living person, he is actually a dead ghost. If you look like a ghost, wouldn't I be too ugly to see people? Zhang Xinyuan smiled and covered his face. Mu Zi praised her, you are so beautiful. You are graceful and moving, the more beautiful you look. The two laughed and joked a few words, and finally parted at the school gate. Mu Zi got into the car, and the car drove away. Through the car window, she could see the young man still staring at her from a distance. His eyes were as sinister as a poisonous snake. No matter how he looked at it, he could see that he had malicious intentions. Mu Zi probably knows who the other party is. It turned out that Xiao Mu Zi had a boyfriend who was said to be the network manager of the internet cafe. In fact, this job is not fixed. He has done it as a courier, waiter, and street singer. Each job is not long-term. After a few months, he starts to idle around. Sought after by rebellious teenagers. Xiao Mu Zi was a fan of the band at first, but gradually fell in love with the lead singer, and began to pursue her with all her heart. At first the man ignored her. There are too many female fans like this, and Xiao Mu Zi's ugly and strange dress is not for men. One day, the man had a whim and thought this girl was very interesting, so he agreed to be her boyfriend casually, but Xiao Mu Zi took it seriously, and later found out that the man still maintained that relationship with several female fans. She was shocked and committed suicide by cutting her wrists. Of course, Mu Zi didn't know the details here. All she knew was that little Mu Zi had a boyfriend who was an internet administrator, and he was a scumbag. Knowing this is enough. Although she took over Xiao Mu Zi's life, it did not include the man who wanted to take over Xiao Mu Zi. But it's really weird that this man popped up suddenly. Mu Zi thought carefully in her heart. She didn't know what the other party wanted to do for the time being, and when she got home, she unexpectedly received a call from Zhang Zi, so she forgot about it. Have you found any clues? Mu Zi asked. During this period of time, they had been investigating the origin of the medicine in Jiao Jingjia's hands. Zhang Xi's sudden call made Mu Zi subconsciously think that she had found something. Unexpectedly, Zhang Xi said in a hurried tone, hurry up and watch TV. Mu Zi was slightly stunned, what? Turn on the TV and watch the news, and you'll know what's wrong. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 212. Puzzled, Mu Zi put down her school bag, picked up the remote control and turned on the TV. The news station is broadcasting an astonishing piece of news. The 3-year-long investigation of the child abuse and murder case has finally been solved. The suspect has been arrested and brought to justice, and will be tried by the court in the near future. And the person in charge of this case is Jiao Jingjia. The news said that Jiao Jingjia was brave and fearless during the investigation, and she forgot to sleep and eat for work. After the case was solved, she was admitted to the hospital urgently due to her weakness. The reporter praised Jiao Jingjia as an excellent prosecutor for the public and the people, and the gospel of Xinjiang City. Photos of Jiao Jingjia at work appeared on the TV screen. I don't know if it's because of the halo of the prosecutor, the 3-point looks also set off the 7-point, bright eyes and white teeth, delicate and beautiful. Mu Zi watched quietly. Bai Wei set the table and chopsticks in the dining room, and called her softly, Zi, it's time to eat. Oh, right away, Mu Zi responded, still looking at the TV. Jiao Jingjia handled a major case. Jiao Jingjia will definitely be rewarded for solving such a serious case. With such honor, the ugliness at the last banquet is not worth mentioning at all. It's been just over 3 months since she took office, and she's out of shit luck. Zhang Xi sent a message, complaining to Mu Zi. Mu Zi sat at the dining table, quietly picking up the rice in the bowl, glanced at the information on the phone screen, and smiled slightly. Calm down, it's not certain who will win, she replied to the message. I just can't get used to her smug look. Complimenting her a few words makes me a goddess. A reporter on the internet claimed that Jiao Jingjia might be Xinjiang City's second goddess of justice after Su Zi. Zhang Xi felt as if she had swallowed a fly, and she was disgusting. When Su Zi first became a prosecutor, she was questioned. Gender discrimination exists more or less in every industry, and the judiciary is particularly serious. In recent years, the feminist movement has been frequent, and the government has only begun to encourage the recruitment of female prosecutors, female judges, and female police officers. It can be said that Su Zi overcame many difficulties and gradually gained trust and reputation through the accumulation of one case after another. Only her partner Zhang Xi knew the difficulties and bitterness among them. And after she died, Jiao Jingjia enjoyed the fruit easily. It's no wonder that Zhang Xi is so angry. It's just a case, what's the rush? There will always be times when the truth will be exposed. Mu Zi typed this paragraph without haste, and sent it. Jiao Jingjia is her assistant, and she knows how strong she is. Being able to solve a case that has been pending for 3 years has a lot to do with luck. Next time, Jiao Jingjia may not have such luck. Mu Zi felt at ease and continued to eat. A servant came in from outside the door, and said with a strange expression, Miss Mu Zi, there is someone outside, who says he is your friend. Look, would you like to come in? My friend, Mu Zi blinked, not knowing why. If Zhang Xinyuan and Zhuang Jie came to see her, why didn't they call in advance? Mom, I'll go and have a look. She put down the bowls and chopsticks, and followed the servant towards the door. Before she got close to the big iron gate with branches, she saw the young man outside through the gate from a distance. He actually found home. Mu Zi frowned subconsciously. The man looked at her through the iron gate, his eyes wandered, lingering on the undulating curves of her body, revealing wanton evil thoughts. Mu Zi is wearing a school uniform at this time, and her developing figure is very beautiful, with a youthful and immature feeling. Her thick black hair is gently raised as she walks, against her white and delicate face. She is pure and charming, especially attractive. The man was amazed in his heart, he didn't expect Muzi to wash off that heavy layer of makeup. It was so beautiful that it made his stomach burn. He wished he could taste it now. It seems that he made the right trip today. He came to right. Not only can he get money, but he can also reap beauties. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 213. The desire in the man's eyes was so obvious that even the servant felt it was inappropriate, so he reminded Muzi in a low voice, "Miss, is this person really your friend? Do you want the security to drive him away?" Before Muzi could speak, the man shouted from the other side of the iron gate, "Zi! Are you still angry with me? At that time I knew you committed suicide for me, so I was really worried and wanted to go to the hospital to see you. But there was a car accident on the road, and I lay in the hospital for several months. No, now I'm here as soon as I get out of the hospital." He deliberately emphasized that Muzi committed suicide for him, which made the security guards and servants look at Muzi strangely. Muzi had no expression on her face, and said to the servant indifferently, "I don't know this person, you can ask Mu-yun or Mu-ling, maybe he is their friend." After speaking, she turned around and left without a single extra look. How dare the servant really ask? Now that the two eldest ladies are not enjoying themselves at home, they will take the servants to anger if they don't like it, let alone this man called out to see Muzi. The servants and security guards had no choice but to drive the man away. Before leaving, the man cast a bitter look at Muzi's back, and left Mu's house without further entanglement. Since he purposely found the Mu family, how could he leave so easily without saying anything or doing anything? Muzi knew very well that this was probably another good idea from the Mu sisters. Certainly not Mu Rongxian. Mu Rongxian has the best reputation. Even if he wanted to ruin Muzi, he would not use such a method that might hurt his daughter King Yu. And because of what happened last time, Mu Yun had a rift with Mu Ling, so she shouldn't act so recklessly. Such a vicious and rude way is very much in line with Mu Ling's style. Was Muse's former lover here to ruin her? Standing at the door and saying a few words casually will not destroy Muse. Only by confirming her relationship with that man and spreading the news to the school, not only will she be expelled, but she will also be stigmatized as adulterous and unclean. Which is much more serious and ugly than cheating. Although chastity is not the only thing for women, in secular ethics, women's chastity is very important, even more important than life. Muzi went back to Xiaoanglu and continued to eat, silently thinking about how to deal with it. In the evening, Bai Wei went back to her room early to rest, and Muzi sat alone in the living room watching TV. She didn't dare to sleep. It's not because she was afraid of that man, but because Muzi knew that when she fell asleep at night, she would sleep very deeply, and even ordinary movements would not wake her up. This point has been confirmed by Murong Cheng. It is very embarrassing and angry to find that she has hickey marks all over her body after waking up. She is very puzzled, why she doesn't feel a bit of hickey marks all over her body when someone kisses her. One can imagine how deeply he slept. Muzi made herself a cup of espresso, then took a pair of sharp scissors from the drawer, and went upstairs to her room. "I didn't go to the kitchen to get a knife because the kitchen utensils that Bai Wei used were all top quality, and it would be a waste of money to use them on that kind of scum." She sat on the bed, drinking coffee and reading a book, until 2 o'clock in the morning. It was quiet late at night, except for a little wind, nothing unusual. Muzi felt strange, wondering if she had guessed wrong? Or, they don't intend to do it tonight? She couldn't hold it anymore, her eyelids were clenched. She turned off the light and closed the book, getting ready to sleep. But she was always vigilant in her heart and didn't dare to close her eyes. After lying on the bed for about a quarter of an hour, she heard a rattling sound outside the window. Very light, very subtle, intermittent, a bit like the sound of a window being slightly vibrated by the wind, and also a bit like the sound of someone prying open the window. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 214. Musei's high-walled compound has an alarm system, and there are security guards patrolling the night. How did this person get in? Someone must have opened the door from the inside, let him in, and told him the location of the small western building and which window Muse's room corresponds to. Musei sighed in admiration. Ling's calculations this time were very careful, but it's a pity that he didn't have to focus on the right way. The windows of the small Western-style building are in European retro style, and the transparent glass is inlaid with hollow rose patterns. It is beautiful, but the anti-theft performance is very low. When this small Western-style building was first built, no one would have imagined that someone would climb through the windows. After all, if there were any thieves, they would definitely go straight to the luxurious villa in front. Musei gently got up from the bed, gripped the scissors tightly, and stood by the window. In the darkness, the window was gently opened a narrow slit, as if testing, but also as if waiting. The cold air poured in along the gap, the window opened wider and wider, and then a head poked in. The man's eyes were fixed on the bulging quilt on the bed, and the thought of sleeping in it made the heat wave all over his body rise. Just as he was about to come in, something cold and hard hit his throat. "Get out!" Musei stared at him coldly, her voice even colder. She wanted to force the other party back, but she didn't know that there was a word called lust and courage. Under the dim night, a delicate and pure girl with thick black hair hangs loosely, which complements the snow-white silk nightgown, like a black rose that blooms at night, beautiful and mysterious, arousing people's imagination. Even if this rose has sharp thorns, it is still an elaborate and luxurious meal in the eyes of a man. Not only did the man not retreat, but he moved his throat a little closer, and the tip of the scissors sank into the flesh. He smiled evilly. "Zizi likes me so much, why is she willing to kill me?" Musei's eyes flickered slightly. She didn't expect that this person was not afraid of death. Immediately, I thought again, it's not that he is not afraid, but he just doesn't believe that I can kill him. Musei really had no intention of killing him. For a judicial worker like her, certain concepts are deeply ingrained and she is absolutely unwilling to do anything that violates the law. Originally, she just wanted to scare the other party away, but now it was a bit tricky. If she really let the other party in, she would definitely lose her innocence tonight. Even if the man couldn't succeed, but a man climbed into her window in the middle of the night, as long as this matter spread, the effect would be the same as losing her virginity. Musei didn't dare to take it lightly. She raised her hand and stabbed the scissors into the man's shoulder blade. "Get out! Don't think I dare not kill you." The man grunted in pain, his eyes became vicious, and he reached out to grab her. "Bitch." Musei's strength is not as strong as that of an adult man, but she has learned to fight. Even if she can't fight against a ruthless character like Murong Cheng, such an ordinary man doesn't have much difficulty in dealing with it. She avoided the man's hand, pulled out the scissors, and directly chopped twice on the fingers of the man holding the window sill. When the man retreated in pain, she slammed the window shut. Snapped. Boom boom. The sound of a heavy object falling to the ground reached his ears, and Musei relaxed all over. In this way, he should retreat in the face of difficulties, right? Maybe she can call the security over now, just in time to catch the thief in the yard. Maybe she can interrogate interesting confessions, and enjoy the embarrassed and disappointed expressions of the Muse sisters by the way. Musei waited quietly by the window for a while. Strangely, she heard nothing. Musei frowned, thought for a while, then lightly opened the window again, and looked out. Her expression completely changed. The man fell to the ground, crawling on all fours, motionless. Is dead. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 215. Falling from the second floor, how could he die? What's more, in this late autumn season, there is still a thick layer of fallen leaves on the grass downstairs, so I shouldn't fall to my death no matter what. I stood by the window in amazement, wondering if this person was pretending to be dead on purpose. No, it wouldn't do him any good to play dead, maybe he fainted from the fall. She hesitated by the window for a while, then turned around, put on a dress and went downstairs, opened the door and went out. I walked around to the back window of the house, where she was still lying face down, without any reaction. She wanted to try her breath, and turned the person over hard. The man's face was bloody and speckled, and he didn't know where the wound was. I didn't catch her breath, she couldn't believe it. She stretched out her hand to touch the carotid artery of the other party, and accidentally touched the pendant around the neck. A piece of jade was exposed, and suddenly it was golden. I only felt a loud bang in her head. An unknown force suddenly hit her body, every bone and every muscle hurt. Her body seemed to be pierced by a huge electric current, and her soul was directly blown away. Pain, but not pain. An experience beyond words. When I regained her strength, she opened her eyes and found that her body had collapsed beside the man, lifeless. For a moment, I suddenly thought of the amulet of third Grandma Mu. At that time it was also such a flash of golden light that made her eyes hurt, but this time the feeling was 100 times and 1,000 times that of the last time. Could it be that this man is carrying some magic weapon? I was still in shock. She looked at her body blankly, and couldn't accept that she died again. Her soul was floating in the air, but she was very stable. Unlike the last time on the river, when the wind blew, her soul seemed to be scattered at any time. Now the aura around here makes her unexpectedly comfortable. It's just, she didn't know how to get back into her body. That golden light made her afraid, and she dared not approach it. At this time, from behind the bushes not far away, a figure appeared, stumbling over. When I was a ghost, she couldn't see the face of a living person clearly, so she could only guess from her attire that it should be Muling. Muling moved closer, checked the breath of the two tremblingly, and then withdrew his hand suddenly, as if he had been greatly frightened. He ran away in a panic. On the way, I fell down a few times, and I didn't even bother to pick up my mobile phone when it dropped. Will she call the police? I thought silently in her heart, and looked again at the body on the ground that had lost signs of life. Really dead again. It's absurd. If it was because of her own incompetence, she was killed by someone, or was framed by someone because of her own carelessness, she would have nothing to say, but, she let herself be killed because of a stone that suddenly popped out. Died. She is so unconvinced. It feels like God is cheating. Just when Musa was puzzled and at a loss what to do, her crow flapped its wings and flew over. I was slightly taken aback. Logically speaking, as long as it is a living creature, she should not be able to see clearly, but Xiao in front of her is exceptionally clear. Those pitch-black wings, sharp claws, and bright black eyes are all clear. What? She saw that there was an extra eye in the center of Xiao's forehead. This is too strange. Shouldn't this place be a bunch of white hairs? I suspected that she was wrong, and stared intently at the crow's third eye. An eye indeed. It just seems to be slightly different. As for how it's different. How different? She was staring blankly, watching, unconsciously. She was fascinated, and at this moment, the crowing of a crow suddenly sounded in her ears. Wow, .. The hoarse and sharp bird call is like a sharp sword. Straight to the heart. Muzi was in severe pain. Subconsciously sat up and hugged his ears. What? She sat up. Muzi took a deep breath, panting uncontrollably, her heart resumed beating, and the blood in her body began to flow again. She is alive again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 216. After the crow's ear-piercing chirping, Muzi's soul was forced back into his body and regained his vitality. It's incredible. Once she became conscious, her first move was to stay away from the man on the ground. That strange piece of jade still has a huge deterrent effect on her. Xiao is very spiritual, and seems to perceive her fear of that thing. It fell on the man, scratched it with its beak, and scratched his neck with its sharp claws. However, the pendant is very firm, even though the flesh of the collarbone around the neck is bloody from being scratched, the piece of jade is still firmly hanging on the neck. Muzi stood not far away, slowly calming down from the horror of life and death. How to do? Now, what should she do? Muzi felt cold, and her body shivered physiologically. In the cold night of late autumn, she was only wearing a thin silk nightgown. The coat had already fallen beside the man when she got up just now, but she had no intention of picking it up. She wants to be calm. Now there is a corpse outside her window, and Mu Ling witnessed her death. Mu Ling's reaction was unpredictable, and it was only a few hours before dawn. She needs to figure out how to deal with it as soon as possible. But her mind was in a mess, and her heart was also in a mess. She couldn't figure it out. Xiao Muzi called softly, with a faint voice. Hearing the sound, the crow stopped pecking at the jade, flapped its wings and flew over, resting on Muzi's forearm. The black claws were stained with dark red blood, staining the sleeves of Muzi's night dress with blood stains, like soft and stretching bright red flowers and leaves, alluring and ghostly. Muzi walked into the house slowly with her bird. In the night, her figure was winding, with a light skirt, like a white ghost. She washed her hands, changed into clean pajamas, and cleaned up Xiao, carefully wiping off the blood on the bird's beak and claws. Then, she sat on the sofa in the living room and thought about what happened tonight. She found that it was not enough to rely on herself alone. At the same time, she also thought of how Murong Cheng's subordinates handled the corpse in an orderly manner in the manor castle. And now, she needs such help. Muzi called Murong Cheng. Although he was afraid of him, he was the first person who would think of him when he was in trouble. Maybe she didn't even know it, subconsciously, she had already regarded Murong Cheng as her reliance. Because this man is very strong, so strong that it seems that there is no problem that he cannot solve, so strong, as long as she is by his side, she will not be afraid of anything. The phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning was connected after only one ring. Muzi's voice was soft and calm. "Brother, something happened at home, can you come back?" What kind of thing requires a call at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night? Murong Cheng's heart sank, knowing that something must have happened to Muzi. "I'll be back now." He hung up the phone without asking any further questions. While waiting for Murong Cheng to come back, Muzi went outside the house. She was afraid that the security guards watching the night would find the body, so she stood guard at a distance, and picked up Mu Ling's cell phone. The video recording function of the mobile phone is turned on, and the video has been recorded for nearly 20 minutes. Muzi dialed the video to the first time, and saw how the man climbed up to the bay window flower platform on the second floor bit by bit, and pried it open. Her window, and then, fell. At the moment of the fall, the video screen shook violently, as if the photographer was taken aback. Muzi turned off the phone expressionlessly. She walked towards the artificial lake, soundlessly, like a ghost wandering in the garden. Walking all the way to the lake, throwing the phone lightly, the phone fell into the lake, leaving only layers of light water marks. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 217. When Chang came back, Muzi sat on the steps of the small foreign building and waited for him, her knees curled up, like a homeless ghost. She looked very pitiful. Thick black hair was loose and fell to the ground, her skin was as white as snow, her big eyes were empty and lifeless, her expression was in a daze, and she didn't respond until Chang walked in front of her. When Chang saw her like this, his heart ached so much that he immediately hugged her. Touching her icy skin, Chang was not only distressed, but also annoyed. He said in a deep voice, "You're going to die if you sit outside dressed like this." Muzi stretched out her hand to gently press his lips, signaling him not to speak. Her fingers were also cold. Muzi took Chang to the back of the house. The man's body was still lying there. Muzi was afraid of that golden light, and didn't dare to get too close, so he just stood at a distance and explained to Chang, "I didn't know he would fall to his death." She wanted to explain everything clearly, but the tip of her tongue was heavy and it was difficult to make a sound. Chang took off his coat and put it on her body, holding her in his arms. "I know everything." After receiving Muzi's call, Chang rushed back immediately. On the way, he checked the surveillance video at home, and he could see clearly what happened. He also saw Muzi collapsed beside the man strangely, and sat up strangely after a while. His heart was burning with anger. He had been taking care of him like a treasure, but he was shocked by such an unknown person. Chang wished he could cut the man on the ground into pieces. He carried Muzi back to the house, went to the bathroom and filled a tub of hot water, stripped Muzi's clothes a few times, and put her into the hot water. The girl's long, thick black hair was immersed in the water, entwining her snow-white and enchanting figure, black and white intertwined, as beautiful as a fairy in the water, but Chang couldn't feel the slightest bit of charming thoughts, he could only feel distressed at the moment. "Don't be afraid, I'll take care of the rest." He touched her cold cheek lightly, then turned and walked out. Muzi wanted to say that she was not afraid. But the body was frozen stiff, and it became extremely difficult to open and close the lips. "Forget it, let him think that I am afraid." When encountering such a thing, a normal girl should be afraid. Thinking of this in her heart, Muzi sank her body into the water. She was actually just stiff. It's like wearing a shoe that doesn't fit your feet. No matter how you adjust your steps, you can't get out of a natural posture. Muzi feels exactly like this now. She caressed her chest, where the heart beat slowly and the blood flowed slowly. She will be cold, not only because of the low temperature in the cold night, but also because her blood is also getting cold. The hot water allowed her to regain some body temperature, but it wasn't enough. Muzi felt that she really needed to take a good rest. When Chang went downstairs, Wang Zhan just came in. "Is it over?" Chang asked. He looked gloomy, obviously in a very bad mood. Wang Zhan became more cautious, and replied in a low voice, "The person didn't die. He hit his head on a stone when he fell. It was a coincidence that he fell right at the temple. He went into a coma at that time. If he was sent to the rescue, maybe you can save a life. If they were not sent for emergency treatment, they would naturally have to wait to die." Chang didn't have the kindness to save people. This kind of scum, even if he died 100 times, it wouldn't be enough to relieve his hatred. "Tell the people under him to clean up," he said with a frown. Wang Zhan nodded hurriedly, knowing that this meant not leaving anyone alive, and then hesitated, asking, then, how to deal with the one who left? "It is not troublesome to deal with the dead, the troublesome one is always the living." Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 218. Mu Ling planned all of this and witnessed Mu Zi's sudden death. If he didn't deal with it, there would be hidden dangers. But, after all, she is the granddaughter of Murong Cheng's own father, so if she really wanted to kill her, it would appear disrespectful and ungrateful. Murong Cheng thought for a while, then said impatiently, then let her behave. There are many ways to be more obedient and obedient alone, but at this time, only that one is suitable for Mu Ling. Wang Zhan understood and nodded in agreement. He was about to turn around and go out when Murong Cheng called him again, when will Du Hao arrive? I have already sent someone to invite me when I set off, don't worry, Lord, it won't be too long. Murong Cheng was concerned about Mu Zi who was upstairs, so he didn't bother to urge him. After handing everything over to Wang Zhan, he went upstairs with a gloomy face. Mu Zi had already come out of the bathtub. Her body became warm after being soaked in hot water, but her joints were still sluggish. She buttoned herself, her fingers trembling, and she couldn't do it for a long time. When Murong Cheng came in, he saw her petite standing by the bathtub, with her head down pitifully buttoning up her buttons. His heart softened. Is it still cold? He approached, touched her face, and tried the temperature of her palm. I'll make a bowl of ginger tea later, drink it before going to bed. Mu Zi seemed very weak, and shook her head feebly. I want to sleep. She doesn't want to drink anything. Murong Cheng helped her button up. Okay, then sleep. He picked her up and went to his room. Mu Zi's mind is clear, but her mental state is muddled. She wanted to go back to her room, but she didn't have the energy to break up with Murong Cheng. The blood stains in your room need to be cleaned up, go to sleep with me first. Murong Cheng seemed to see what she was thinking, and when passing by the room, he deliberately explained. Mu Zi leaned her head against his chest, nodded weakly, and quickly closed her eyes. When Murong Cheng put her on the bed and covered her with the quilt, he could already hear Mu Zi's gentle and long breathing. She fell asleep. Du Hao arrived sooner than expected, and the men who went to pick him up told Wang Zhan that although it was a sudden interruption in the early morning, he did not expect that Mr. Du had already dressed properly, saying that it was a fortune teller that he had an appointment this morning. Wang Zhan snorted, thinking that this guy was playing tricks again, but it didn't matter, as long as someone received it. When the people arrived, Murong Cheng was still upstairs to accompany Mu Zi. Wang Zhan naturally didn't dare to go up to disturb him. Du Hao was not in a hurry, and walked around the small western building with a smile on his face. It's like taking a walk, but also like enjoying the scenery. The night is deep and the surroundings are pitch black. What is there to admire? Wang Zhan watched him coldly, watching him make trouble. Unexpectedly, Du Hao walked to the place where the man fell, stopped, and asked him with a smile, one died. Wang Zhan's heart skipped a beat. Yo! Is it possible that the eyes of the sky are really opened? The corpses have all been removed, and the blood stains have been cleaned up, but it can still be seen that someone died here. How do you know? He blurted out. Du Hao smiled politely, glanced at the surroundings, and said unhurriedly, Master Rong wants to nourish his soul. This land of the five yins is the most reliable place, but for living people, it is a place of great viciousness and evil. Dare to come here, not to mention bad luck, I'm afraid you will either die or be injured. Ouch! Ouch! He really hit it off. Isn't that guy just unlucky? Falling from the second floor can also cause shock. Wang Zhan couldn't help being in awe of Du Hao, thinking to himself, could it be that he misunderstood him earlier? At this time, Du Hao took out a Kunlunhong mobile phone chain from his arms. Master Rong and his wife have been able to live here without incident, all because of Kunlunhong's energy field, which helps to offset negative energy. Xiao Wang is in charge after years and years of traveling in and out of evil places. I really should buy one, and spending some money can protect my safety and good luck, and I will benefit endlessly. Wang Zhan. He really hates sales. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 219. In the gorgeous and luxurious princess room, the pink crystal lamps are brightly lit, and Ling's room is brightly lit. She closed the doors and windows tightly, turned on all the lights that could be turned on, and shivered alone in the quilt. She saw the dead. The man fell down and remained motionless, and later, Muzi also died. Muzi died strangely. It was as if she had been bewitched by an evil spirit. Yes, bewitched. Muzi must be bewitched. She was killed by a ghost. Thinking of this, Ling's heart trembled wildly, and with a pale face, he closed the quilt even tighter. Dead, they're all dead. After all, she was just a 16-year-old girl, even though she was a little vicious, mean, and arrogant, but she had never seen a dead person. This accident frightened Ling, and she trembled all over. Since dropping out of school and staying at home, Ling has been planning to harm Muzi. Muzi caused her to drop out of school, caused her to be abused by her father, and caused her to lose face in this family. She was unwilling to let it go. She wants revenge. Ling secretly planned for a long time. Not only did she want to make Muzi fail to go to school, but she also wanted to make Muzi notorious and suffer all kinds of stares and scolding. There is no possibility of turning over again. So she thought of Muzi's puppy love, which was once used by her to ridicule Muzi, but now, it has become her best help. Ling found that social youth, bought him with money, and asked him to come to Mu's house at night to spoil Muzi. Not only that, but also prepared to record the whole process. She wants to post the video of Muzi having fun with the man Jiao on the internet, completely ruining Muzi. In order to make the plan go smoothly, Ling pretended to be kind and told the security guards tonight that the weather was too cold and the night watch was very painful, so he would give them a day off. Although the security guards thought it was strange, who wouldn't be happy with such a cheap thing? At 2 o'clock in the middle of the night, the family members were already sound asleep. She quietly opened the big iron door with tangles of branches to guide the man, while she stayed downstairs and recorded the scene of the man climbing into the window. Everything happened silently, without anyone noticing. Ling felt proud of her foresight, and felt that she had done a great thing. But Yun's ideas were full of flaws, not only failed to solve Muzi, but also caused her to be beaten and scolded by her father, and she had to drop out of school. Yun's self-righteousness caused Ling to suffer. She always thinks that I'm not smart enough, but she's actually a fool, Ling thought angrily in her heart. This time I want to let her know that I can make Muzi forever with any trick. Dad will praise me too. Ling felt that his plan was perfect. But unexpectedly, that man fell from the second floor. Useless. Ling thought so at the time. Like Muzi, she never thought that the height of the second floor could make a man fall to his death. However, the man remained motionless, and Ling began to panic. Could it be that her plan is about to fail like this? At this moment, she saw Muzi come out again. Muzi probably wanted to test whether the man was dead, so she turned over the man vigorously, sniffed, and then suddenly fell to the ground without warning, unconscious. On such a cold night, two people whose life and death were unknown lay on the ground, and Ling's scalp was numb. She approached in fear, and found that neither of them was breathing, they were all dead. Ling completely collapsed, turned around and ran away almost regardless. Ghost. There are ghosts in this yard. They were all killed by ghosts. Ling was frightened crazy, and ran back to her room in a hurry, still shaking until now. At this time, there was a light knock on the door. "Who?" Mu Ling asked like a frightened bird. However, no one answered the door, and the knock on the door still sounded unhurriedly. Mu Ling's teeth were chattering up and down, and she was so frightened that she didn't dare to open the door. The knock on the door suddenly disappeared. Just as Mu Ling breathed a sigh of relief, the door lock suddenly turned. Crack! The door opened. "Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 220. The next day, Mu Zi fell ill. Persistent low-grade fever and loss of appetite. It seems to be a minor illness, but has been falling asleep on the bed, and occasionally wakes up, and the whole person is not energetic. Murong Chen used the pried open window as an excuse, saying that the window might be broken, and the cold wind leaked in the middle of the night, causing Mu Zi to catch a cold. Since the window of Muse's room was broken, he left Muse to rest in his room naturally. Bai Wei was confused. Why did she wake up? Her daughter was sick, her son returned, and there were a few more guests at home that she didn't know. "Mom, call to go to school and ask Zizi to take a few days off." Murong Chen made a random excuse and dismissed Bai Wei. Bai Wei didn't doubt that he was there, so she went to make a phone call after hearing this. Murong Chen's subordinates have been dealing with blood-stained transactions all year round, and they are familiar with handling the scene. The upstairs and downstairs have already been cleaned up, and even the coagulated blood stains embedded in the hollow rose borders on the glass windows have been sprayed and melted with special chemicals, leaving no trace. Everything was as before, as if nothing had happened. Bai Wei also didn't notice any clues. Murong Chen was depressed, and took Wang Zhan and Du Hao to the study. "Didn't you say that with the three-eyed crow, everything will be safe and sound?" Murong Chen asked sullenly as soon as he entered the study. "What's the matter with her illness?" There was no panic on Du Hao's face, and he explained, "The three-eyed crow is born with a ghost, and is most suitable as a soul pet. There is no doubt about it." "Master Wrong, you have also seen that it was the crow who saved Miss Mu, but that a piece of ancient jade appeared suddenly, and the soul suffered some shocks, and it will recover after a while." Wang Zhan bowed his head and remained silent, gloating a little in his heart. Murong Chen asked displeased, "Is there no way to recover immediately? Cultivating the soul is like giving birth to bone and flesh and skin. When the flesh and skin suddenly separate, temporary pain is unavoidable. Even if you make up for it, it will take time to recover. Forcibly using a quick method will affect the soul and body instead, and the gain is not worth the loss," Du Hao advised, with a tone of voice sincere. Murong Chen remained silent, his face still gloomy and ugly. Wang Zhan changed the subject appropriately. "Mr. Du, you still have to think of a way. If you encounter the situation next time, won't the soul that our Lord Rong raised so hard be destroyed again? This skin from flesh, tearing it up, mending it, tearing it up again, back and forth, how can the soul be kept strong?" Du Hao smiled, as if a little helpless. "Such a 1,000-year-old jade is rare in the world. It is already an unpredictable chance to meet it once, how can it happen a second time?" He was holding a piece of jade in his hand, rubbing it leisurely. It was the pendant on the man's neck. The jade was kneaded and polished in Du Hao's hands until it became smooth, and it glowed with clarity under the moonlight. The appearance of this kind of ancient jade is not pleasing, and it cannot be sold for a high price in the auction house, but it is born with the ability to dispel evil spirits and has spirituality. If you are not an expert, you don't understand its value at all." Du Hao put the jade back on the table. "Guessed, it may be a family heirloom, or he may have stolen it. He wanted to sell the ancient jade for some money, but the antique owner didn't know the goods, so he kept it for himself." After hearing this, Wang Zhan felt a little greedy. The 1,000-year-old jade that can dispel evil spirits, this is a good thing, it must be much more reliable than the mobile phone chain I bought just now. But this thing made Mu Zi sick, and lying on the bed, Murong Cheng hated it when he saw it. Smash it on me, Murong Cheng said. Wang Zhan twitched his eyebrows, felt it was a pity, and said hesitantly, actually, brothers always have so many unclean transactions in their hands, it's good to wear some ornaments to ward off evil spirits, like Kunlunhong, ancient jade wood. Murong Cheng frowned, and glanced over coldly. Wang Zhan suddenly trembled, I'm going to smash it?